So hopefully you've had a chance now to play a few games of Magic the Gathering with a starter deck or playing on Magic the Gathering Arena. And now you have an opportunity to start building your very first deck. Well, I'm going to give you 3 different steps to make it a little bit easier for you and hopefully a little bit less intensive than what you actually might find on other sites or other videos. Step number 1 is to understand your collection of cards you have available to you. Whether or not it is cards that you currently own or cards that you could purchase, you kind of want to know what you have access to and what could be in it. So the types of colors you might have, the type of creatures and non-creature spells you might have, artifacts, lands, all the rest of that jazz, kind of under understanding of where you can get your cards at and what you might have available to you. So this could be Magic the Gathering Arena. If you're building digitally, great. You have access to the cards, you can see what you have. Your bulk box, if you want to go to a local gaming store, some of them I've gone to, they sell just commons and uncommons that they don't want to have to sort through, and so they just sell it at a marked up price. Get a few hundred cards or whatever, and you get access to some cards. You can also look at what you have from starter decks, or maybe from booster packs you've purchased, but I'd also recommend taking a look online or at your local gaming store at what singles they might have available that you can purchase from them, because overall, that will help you out with buying exactly what you want to have for your deck. Now, step number 2 is to start building the skeleton or the template of your deck. You're going to set aside 20 to 24 cards of your deck for lands. Now, what this means is that you've already taken care of a third of your deck. Great, pat on the back, good old POB. Then you're going to go over and 9 to 10 play sets should be reserved for your non-lands, meaning your spells, your artifacts, your creatures, your sorceries, instants, all the rest of that jazz. The reason why I say playset is, in most deck building scenarios, you can include up to 4 copies of the same name card in your deck. You cannot include a 5th. So if you wanted to bring a card like, I don't know, Garrick's Companion, because you love the stats and everything on that bad boy, you can bring 4. You are not allowed to bring a 5th, 6th, or 7th. Some cards specify you can have as many in the deck as you want, but for most cases, you're not allowed to bring more than 4 of the same name card unless it's a basic land or the card says otherwise. This has been referred to as the rule of 9 for deck building, but I also like to go out for the rule of 10 because your mana costs may look a little different. If you're playing 1, 2, and 3 mana cost creatures and spells and nothing higher than that, then you might want to go for maybe 20 card for your lands. If you are going to be playing with over 4 or more converted mana cost, then yeah, you might want to go down to a 9 play set deck and then having 24 cards to make sure you have enough for your lands and enough mana to actually play the spells you want. By doing this, this will help you out with consistency by drawing the cards you actually want to draw, because if you're including them in your deck, you probably want to see them, and it's not going to require too much brain power and tuning until you get a chance to play a few games, and by then you might be ready for more of an intermediate or advanced lesson. Now this brings me over to point number 3. You're going to look at your play sets that you are desiring to put in your deck or that you happen to have with you, and you're going to build towards one of 2 archetypes or themes. Ultimately, when you build a deck for Magic the Gathering, you should have a win condition or win con in mind, which means that in most cases, you want to try and bring your opponent's life total from 20 to 0. There are other ways to win the game, but we're not going to talk about now, but you want to try and get to 20 to 0, and then usually you're going to want to go 2 different paths. Either A, you're going to go the more aggressive and proactive path, which is your aggro decks. They want to try and go and bring your opponent's total from 20 to 0 as fast as possible. The other side is maybe you have more defensive or reactive cards, which is more of a control deck, which you want to slow the game down and try to go to 20 to 0 at your own pace when you feel it is safe to do so. Now, my very first example I have for you here is an aggro example in Mono Green Stompy. The win condition or the game plan with this deck is to bring your opponent's life total from 20 to 0 as fast as possible by playing big old creatures as quickly as possible. So utilizing cards like Llanowar Elves and Elvish Mystic, which are functionally the same card, just different names, I can get mana on the battlefield so much quicker. I can play a land turn 1, then play a Llanowar Elves, and then turn 2 rolls around, I'll play another Forest, and now I have access to 3 mana on turn 2 to allow me to play spells like Groundbreaker, which can swing in and take a quarter of my opponent's health right away. As the game progresses, I can play bigger, stronger creatures, and then I can also play buffing spells, which will help make my small creatures bigger, or my big creatures even larger. That will help me with winning the game and getting it done so much faster with an easy Mono Green Stompy deck. Now, on the other hand, if you take a more defensive deck like this blue-white control deck, you can see that in this, you're playing a lot of smaller creatures that have a high defense or high toughness. So your turtle or your omen speaker are great places that your opponent's smaller little 1/1 creatures cannot attack and kill your creatures. What you want to do is you want to play spells like that will help you cycle through your deck and be able to prolong the game and stop your opponent from dealing damage to you. But you can also utilize cards like Oppressive Raise or Unsummon to help slow your opponents down. If you play Oppressive Raise, you put it on one of their creatures, it requires them to pay 3 mana in order to attack or activate abilities or block. So that means if they want to do anything with that creature, they have to pay mana, which will take away their resource that they can't be playing other spells to get on the battlefield. Unsummon's great that if your opponent plays a 6/6 for 6 Colossal Dreadmaw, you pay 1 blue mana and send that Dreadmaw back to their hand, and now they have to recast it at their next turn, provided they have enough mana come next turn. This will give you enough time to play your big old winners, which is your Sarah Angel and Sarah Sphinx, which have evasion and flying and have vigilance as well. Effectively same card, different colors, but they'll be the ones to bring your opponent's life total from 20 to 0. Now, I know that's a lot of information to take in within 6 minutes, but hopefully this helps you with getting an understanding of, hey, I got to get out there and make sure I have a collection of cards that I'll be able to pull from or buy from. I have to set aside my skeleton, my deck template, to make sure that I have an easy way to put all the cards in there, and focus again on the play sets. Make sure that you have the consistency in your deck, that you're playing the cards you actually want to see. And then you're going to take a look at those play sets and see, does this lean more towards an aggro or does it look more towards a control? And if you're starting completely from scratch, you can say, listen, I want to build an aggro deck, so every card that I include in here has to be going towards the game plan of, will this help me win the game faster? And if you're playing control, every card you include in there should say, does this help me stay alive longer, stop my opponent, and does this help me finish the game when I get to a comfortable place? So hopefully that helps you all out, and if it does, feel free to leave me a like, subscribe, or go ahead and leave me a comment in the comment section. I'd love to hear how your deck building process has been when you were a beginner starting Magic the Gathering, and let me know if this is something that's helped you out now or maybe even later. So until the next time, be safe, have fun deck building and playing your games of Magic, and I'll see you on the next one. Bye.